Welcome everybody to our 2021 Green Canyon National Honor Society induction ceremony. We're glad to be able to be here and to induct our new members and especially our graduating members who will be moving on to the next chapter of their lives. We will now recite the pledge before we be introduced to our speaker. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our keynote speaker for tonight is Bruce Meir. Bruce Meir worked for 34 years with the corporation of the presiding bishopric of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He held the following positions: Director of the Emergency Response, where he supported emergency response to natural disasters and refugee crises globally. He was also the Director for the Temporal Affairs in the Philippines and Chile areas, where he oversaw business operations. He was Managing Director of the Translation Department, where he oversaw all translation, interpretation, and localization efforts. He worked for 4 years for Maryland National Bank, where he managed the Sao Paulo, Brazil office. He served as the president of the Brazil Maceo Mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He received a BA in finance from Utah State University and an international MBA from Thunderbird in Glendale, Arizona. He and his wife, Mary, are the parents of 3 children and grandparents of 9. Everyone, please give Bruce Meir a warm welcome with a round of applause.
Administrators, students of Green Canyon High School, and your parents. It's a real honor for me to be with you this evening. I wish I could see all your faces, but we'll just do the best we can. I've been reflecting since I was given this invitation back 50 years ago. I graduated from high school in 1971. And in my senior year, I was the vice president of our chapter of the National Honor Society. Those were good times. I would like to thank Ethan for that introduction, and special thanks to Kirsten Israelson and Gordon Peer, my good friend. It's a pleasure to be with you. A lot has happened in those 50 years. I've lived overseas for 17 years. I have done business in many countries, visited most of the countries in the world, I believe, and done business in many more. I congratulate you, students, for your scholarship, for the work that you have put in. I hope you have gained a love for learning. I know it's been hard at times. I can remember back to the calculus classes that I took in high school and in college. They were hard for me. And sure enough, I did not use one bit of calculus after graduate school. Now, do I begrudge that? No, I don't. I think it helped me with my learning skills and helped me learn that I could do hard things. Now, isn't that why we're here at school? It's to grow your thinking and learning skills, learn how to work, how to apply yourself. One educator coined a very interesting statement. He said the following: thinking is the skill through which intelligence acts upon experience for a purpose. For me, that's an interesting statement. You have to add that for a purpose on the end, or you're just kind of daydreaming if you're thinking without a purpose. Now, in school, you learn a lot about thinking, analytical thinking. You might learn how to critique a hypothesis. But there's more to it. There's perception, seeing patterns, seeing concepts, seeing needs, seeing challenges, seeing opportunities. There's also lateral thinking, where you step back and you look at those patterns and those concepts, and you challenge them. Can we do things in different ways? Some of the great inventions that have come about have come through people who have challenged the status quo, who have perceived needs that nobody else saw, and then opened them up. It's an interesting thing, thinking. I'm going to ask you, have you done much thinking? There's so many distractions right now. It really requires a firm mind, a disciplined mind, to make time to think. You're probably asking the question, so what do I think about? Let me give you a couple of things. You're not too far from being out of high school. Probably most of you will go to college. I would like you to think and use your perceptive skills. Ask you the question, where will you be at age 45? What is life going to look like at age 45? If you could find an hour to think through that, I think you will find it's very beneficial. I think it will help you. And then ask the question, what do I need to do now? What do I need to do in college? What do I need? What are the other milestones along the way? I think it will help you make some very important decisions that are just on the horizon right now. Another one, I don't know if you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I would look that up. Apply it to yourself. What will you need? What do you need now? But what will you need in the years to come? Now, I have hired many people. I've sat in interview situations many times. You read the resumes, you talk to them. One of the things you never are certain about is, will they work hard? Will they own this job? Will they take accountability? And the only way I ever kind of figured it out, even to get a glimpse of that, was to ask some penetrating questions and find out if they have even thought about the job they're asking of us. And so thinking is a must. It's an important skill. I would like to share with you a quote from a dear friend of mine. He's now passed away, but he was the president of a chemical company in São Paulo, Brazil. It reads like this. It says, "Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent." Now that's a pretty direct statement. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that talent, genius, and education are bad. They are super important. Super important. But if you do not attach a work ethic, persistence, determination to it, you'll likely fail in your endeavor. I'd like to spend just a few moments and give you a couple of snippets, a couple of stories from some of my experience, and I'll spread those around the world a little bit. In 2010, I was in Chile as Director of Business Operations down there, and in February we got hit with an 8.8 magnitude earthquake. That gets your attention. Words, I don't have the words to describe how scary that is, and I hope never to have to go through that experience again. But some days after that earthquake occurred, we met with high cabinet level officials of the Chilean government. We asked them the question, what can we do to help? Their response was immediate. We need tents. We cannot find tents anywhere. And there was a reason for that. Just 5-6 weeks earlier, Haiti had experienced a 7.0 7.0 earthquake. And it killed over 250,000 people. All the tents in the world had gone to Haiti to help them with their emergency response. We asked if we could take a day or two and see what we could do. We called them back the next day and told them we will provide 12,000 tents and gave them a deadline. And they were a little worried because winter was coming soon. But they were quite flabbergasted. How can you do this? And we said, well, we have tent manufacturers which we know in India and China. We've already made an order for 6,000 each. As soon as 2,000 tents are manufactured, they will be on a ship headed to Chile. They were very happy. It was a perception issue. These folks in charge of procurement were used to doing it one way, which is it seemed like a simple solution, but they weren't thinking that way. We tend to think in patterns. Once you get outside that pattern, it's a little more difficult. I was also a director for business operations in the Philippines. And while there, we started work on some humanitarian outreach. We wanted to do more. There were some lifestyle issues, a lot of poverty. We decided we got a trailer and we created a health fair. And we had some volunteers and we started rolling this health fair city to city all throughout that country. Interesting thing happened along the way. Doctors and nurses and their organizations became interested. They wanted to help. They wanted to be involved. And then other doors appeared that we had not even known about. And that's one of the things that happens when you do almost any kind of project on a big scale. You have decisions to make. Do we expand scope? What do we do? Let me tell you two things in the Philippines. First of all, we discovered that there was a leper colony. And it was a horrid place, terrible conditions. We took a doctor out, we assessed needs. That was followed by medicines, by medical equipment, by clothing, food, and other things to make their life a little bit easier. It continued on, this project continued on for several years after I left the country. But I can remember receiving a little newspaper clipping where the Philippines government announced the eradication of leprosy in that country. Another thing, we worked on a Smoky Mountain project. Smoky Mountain was the public landfill in the capital city of Manila. And 25,000 people lived on that landfill or in the periphery of the landfill. Adults, men, women, teens, children went every day and picked through garbage, trying to find recyclable material that they could sell to eke out a living. The government became embarrassed of that. They closed it down, and all of a sudden you have 25,000 people without a livelihood. It was interesting some of the partners we picked up. In this case, it was the Catholic Church. I worked with a great priest, and we provided livelihood programs, food, clothing, and other materials to help them make it through. It was a wonderful project. In 2013, I was asked to be the director over emergency response and refugee response. And it became very obvious that we needed to expand relationships with the United Nations. I spent a fair amount of time traveling to Geneva, Switzerland, to Rome, to New York, to Washington, other cities to create the relationships to get the refugee programs moving forward. We were already pretty good with responding to natural disasters. I want to just tell you one quick thing that happened. In 2015, and many of you young folks probably do not remember this, but 1 million people escaping the ravages of war flooded into Europe. They came through Turkey. They were willing to take dangerous rubber life rafts across 7 to 15, 16 miles of open sea to arrive there. Many drowned. They were traumatized. Many of them saw loved ones killed in war. We're talking Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq, even down into Nigeria and Eritrea and Somalia. What do you do with 1 million people? Europe wasn't ready for that at all. We partnered with some of our good partner, the big partners, humanitarian partners. We helped them stay alive. They would go through Turkey to the islands of Greece, to the mainland, and literally walk all the way to Northern Europe. Most of them arrived with clothes on their back. What do? You don't have time to plan and think things out. It was just keep people alive. And that's what we did. So there was food, there was clothing, there was shelter, there was medical care, there was psychosocial care because of all the trauma with these folks. Sweden received 35,000 unaccompanied minors. What do you do with 35,000 kids that don't have parents or any relatives and they show up in your country? We got to work on all of those different things. Now, I found myself in Serbia and walking around through a dilapidated tobacco factory where several hundred refugees were living. It was not a good place. They had gotten stuck in Serbia. They had gone across the border of the Republic of Macedonia into the city of Preševo. While I was taking the tour, an Afghani man, and his 5 boys stopped me and very respectfully asked me a very good question. He asked, "Can you give us any hope?" And I had a good conversation with him about that concept. But I would like to address you sophomores, juniors, seniors. Can you give us any hope? This is going to sound a little cliched, but you are our future. You are going to be embedded in organizations throughout this state, throughout our nation, and if you're lucky enough, as I was, even throughout the world. And your values, your thinking skills, what you have learned, there are building blocks, and you will learn how to serve and how to make this turbulent, difficult world better. Now your formal education is coming to an end for some of you. Remember a few things. It is important to continue learning. Stay humble. Listen to people. Learn from them. Be open to and embrace change. When you do so, a tremendous amount of energy is released and you are able to do things that you could not imagine. In my career, I got to do very many interesting things. I changed jobs every 3 to 5 years over my whole career. And it has been an interesting career, and it's given me a lot of fulfillment. I have had to do some very hard things. And you, each of you, will also have to do some hard things, but you will do wonderful things. Now, I just would like to tell you good luck with continuing with your education. Remember to think. Remember to use your talent, your genius, your education for good things. Plan what you're going to do and what you're going to do with your life. There are so many opportunities, and you can do literally whatever you want. And I feel like I'm an example of that. Thank you, and all the best to each of you.
I'll now go through the requirements to become eligible for the National Honor Society. To become eligible for the National Honor Society, students must firstly maintain a 3.8 GPA. Secondly, take 8 academic core classes per year, or 7 if a sophomore. And finally, have 90% attendance or higher.
National Honor Society induction pledge. We encourage all watching at home to follow along and recite the pledge after me. Please stand. I pledge to maintain
I pledge to maintain
high scholastic standing,
high scholastic standing,
to hold as fundamental and worthy,
to hold as fundamental and worthy
an untarnished character,
an untarnished character,
to endeavor intelligently and courageously,
to endeavor intelligently and courageously,
to be a leader,
to be a leader,
and to give of myself freely in service to others.
and to give of myself freely in service to others.
In so doing, I shall prove myself worthy
In so doing, I shall prove myself worthy
of a place in the National Honor Society.
of a place in the National Honor Society.
Thank you.
We would now like to introduce the sophomore members. Eric Allen, Soraya Anderson, Stella Andrew, Carson Ashcroft, Tara Baldwin, Zane Ballard, Ava Bannon, Abby Blau, Samuel Vaughn, Quinn Bracken, Parker Rao, Brooklyn Clegg, Kennedy Conan, Savannah Cox, Connor Dockery, Taylor Farley, Braden Genos, Addison Glesberg, Mia Hansen, McKinley Hansen, Nolan Hendrickson, Matthias Hubert, Dylan Jacobson, Andrew Jenkins, Olivia Kenny, Victoria Coons, Cambry Likas, Natalia Lopez, Natalie Limas, David Madison.
Charles Matthews, Josh Megan, Grace Moen, Emma Moore, Lydia Neely, Tori Newswonder, Alexa Nicholas, Aaron Nelson, Adam Oxness, Daniel Olson, Marisha Perks, Olivia Phillips, Carson Proctor, Landon Pugh, Rachel Reese, Lydia Reese, Juliette Reese, Bethany Regan, Jack Robinson, Adam Roan, Ryan Scott, Madeline Seedall, Carson Shakespeare, William Shore, Riker Sparks, Jada Staker, Katie Summers, Julia Swayze, Carter Thorpe, Joshua Tippett, Kylie Toulis, Jasper Ward.
Gracie Watkins, Annalise Watine, Isaac Wilcox, Abigail Wilkie, Ellie Wilson, Kalani Wiltsey, J.C. Womack, and Nora Wozniak. Let's give a round of applause for our sophomore members.
We will now introduce our junior members. Bryson Ashman, Audrey Bailey, Kaylee Baker, Gracie Beecher, Lauren Bell, Audrey Benson, Clara Benson, Dean Benton, McKay Burks, Kristen Call, Tegan Carlson, Tegan Carling, Caitlin Carlson, Brooklyn Castillo, Dylan Chambers, Kaylee Checketts, Kyle Christensen, Kyler Clark, Jonathan Cowley, Leanne Cox, Emma DeBerard, Aaron Drake, Sydney Edelmeyer, Jordan Estrada, Avery Fidel, Tyson Farnsworth, Alec Francis, Mallory Lee, Gabby Gonzalez, Isaac Hansen, Dalton Hansen.
Logan Hansen, Isaac Hansen, Ellie Harris, Hunter Harrison, Matthew Higginbotham, Ethan Hooley, Mia Hubner, Kennedy Hunt, Taisley Jensen, Ryan Jukes, London Johnson, Hallie Kendrick, Jeffrey Koch, Kat Lewis, Bethany Lloyd, Sophia Lindsay, Jacob Lyon, Eleanor Markham, Ian Mon, Spencer Mon, Aiden Merrill, Gary Merrill, Brooklyn Monson, Jackson Mons, Tanner Nash, Gentry Nava, Emery Nichols, Samantha Olson, Alejandra Patch, Emily Phelps, Kaylani Porter, Bethany Potts.
Kaylee Rigby, Maxwell Rogers, Lizzie Seeley, Benjamin Selman, Kayleen Shelton, Cassandra Smith, Emily Snow, Donovan Southwick, Madeline Stagg, Sydney Steed, Clara Stevens, Camry Stewart, Ike Thomas, Caleb Thompson, Kayla Torres, Tabitha Wagner, Samuel Walker, Rachel Weber, Blake Wilson, Talia Winder, and Peyton Wood. Let's give them a round of applause.
We will now introduce the senior members. Kate Anderson, Caleb Balls, Jaden Beach, Emily Benson, Jackson Berry, Clarissa Bueller, Kendon Blotter, Jace Blotter, Claire Campbell, Jerry Cole, Kayla Collins, McKenna Crane, Jaden Cuff, Claire England, Parker Uckenbrack, Kenneth Foslev, Sabrin Farmer, Ellie Mahala, Adam Frost, Logan Gonzalez, Hunter Gonzalez, Hannah Gracie, Luke Holling, Lauren Hansey, Taylor Hansey, Annika Harris, Ethan Hatch, McCade Helser, Serenade Hendrickson, Devin Holt.
Tyler Hoth, Emma Hunsaker, Sherston Israelson, Rebecca Ivins, Liberty Jackson, Jaden Jensen, Talmadge Kay, Esther Keller, Kaylee Kirkham, Brittany Knudsen, Cameron Coons, Kyler Coons, Matthew Lyon, Dorothy Martin, Madeline Midkiff, Michelle Nielsen, Alexandra Nunez, Kennedy Palmer, Annalie Parker, Nicholas Perks, Madeline Peterson, Sophie Phillips, Ireland Priest, Braden Pugh, Emma Reed, Allison Reeder, Hannah Sadler, Natalie Sanchez, Mallory Schramm, Madeline Schultz, Spencer Seedall, Emma Shumway, Brooklyn Slade, Samantha Spackman, Corey Thompson, Riley Thompson, Ellie Thornton, Tanner Ty, Ashley Ward, Aaron Watson, Andrew Westwood, Amanda Wilcox, Ethan Williams, Alexa Willis, Nathan Wood, Sydney Jorgensen, and Anastasia Zacher.
This year for leadership, we worked with the front office to make sure that those graduating in 2021 were on track and had all their requirements filled out to be able to graduate with National Honor Society honors.
Service. This year for service, we helped with the food pantry, we helped them organize, help those families in which they serve. This year for character, we helped organize and film and edit the Veterans Day broadcast that was shown not only at Green Canyon High School, but surrounding elementary schools.
This year for scholarship, we helped the Career Center with Career Day and to help remind teachers about lectures during class.
Now recognize our current National Honor Society Officer and Leadership Council. For our presidency this year, we had me, Sherston Israelson, as president. Our vice president was Ethan Hatch. Our secretary was Emma Shumway. Our council members for character was Tyler Baldwin. For scholarship was Spencer Seedall. Leadership is Jaden Cuff. Service is Kayla Balls, and our junior representatives are Blake Wilson and Ellie Harris. Without these guys this year wouldn't have been the success it was, and I'd really like to thank them for that. I'd also like to thank our advisor, Gordon Peer, and also the secretary, Wendy Balls, for all the help that they've given us. This year would not have gone as smoothly at all without their help. So big round of applause for everyone who's helped make this year a success. I'll now recognize our future for next year Leadership Council for Green Canyon's National Honor Society. The Leadership Council is chosen by us, the current Leadership Council, and also a variety of teachers and administration. Next year's president will be Blake Wilson, the vice president, Ellie Harris, the secretary will be Mallory Gailey. As a part of the council members, for scholarship there will be Tanner Nash, service will be Avery Fidel, leadership will be Jeffrey Koch, character and citizenship will be Lauren Bell, and our junior representatives will be Jada Staker and Tara Baldwin. Please give them a round of applause as well. If your name was just barely read as a part of the Leadership Council for 2021 to 2022, please send an email to Gordon Peer with your contact information so that you can be ready for next year. Also, if you are a graduating member, you can purchase your cord for graduation at the financial office. As we conclude, I would just like to thank Bruce Muir one more time for speaking for us tonight, and also our current Leadership Council and everyone who has helped make tonight and this entire year a success. Thank you.